Hey guys, in today's video, we're going to talk about the real engine to the golf swing, the one most important thing that you need to have in your swing that controls everything else. Let's dive in. Hey guys, today I want to talk to you about the hanger training aid. Now, I don't know if you've seen this or used this before, but it is absolutely my new favorite training aid. This hanger here creates and controls what I think is the most important part of the swing, which is the wrist angle. It snaps right on. It takes me probably 30 seconds to put on. I can put it right in my golf bag. And best of all, the main trait of a training aid that's really good is you can hit balls with it. You can actually hit balls with it. So I love this hanger training aids. I've been using it probably for the past 6 to 7 weeks in my own game. You may have seen me in videos talk about, hey, I'm really trying to get my left wrist flat at the top. Look at when I do that well, how that sits on my forearm. Now watch when I cut my wrist, how that comes off. Immediate feedback for where my wrist angle's at. I like to use this even during my takeaway. When I set it up here, I like to keep it between my arms during my takeaway, press it against my left wrist for flat left wrist at the top, press it more against. Look at when I press it against, how that shallows my shaft, that keeps my club face square to close, helps me hit from inside. So I absolutely love this. I firmly believe that this is good for every single golfer. There's no one that can have too flat of a left wrist. One of the few things that all good ball strikers have, we're trying to have. Flat left wrist, right? Super easy to use, incredible immediate feedback. With the coupon code GogornoGolf.com, it's only $59, and I can actually hit balls with it and get instant feedback. Yes, I don't know if you can hear that, but that's about as compressed as I can hit a ball, and that's the main point of this hanger. Iron compression. You're gonna absolutely love it. We'll put all the details down in the description down below. All right guys, so in today's video, we're talking the engine of the golf swing, the most important thing that sets everything else up. But before we do, if you haven't already, please check out CogornoGolf.com. That's where you can send in your swing videos. We can work together. I can give you real solutions to the things that you're having problems with, identify root causes, real answers to your questions. Would love to work with you. Schedule a 15-minute phone call with me. We could figure out the best plan for you. CogornoGolf.com will be in the description down below. So the real engine to the swing, there's a lot of parts, right, in a golf swing. I have grip, hands, arms, feet, legs, head, but the real engine is the hip motion or the pelvis motion. It's what I believe, and many great coaches believe, that controls the most variables in the golf swing. If you have the hip motion correct, and I'm going to show you 5 critical checkpoints and a couple of moves that you can turn into 1 to 2 feels to solve a lot of problems. If you get the hip motion correct, you get so much for free, which is awesome. We want to do one thing really well and get 10 benefits. But if that's true, unfortunately, the flip side's also true, which means if you get the hip motion incorrect or wrong, you don't get those 10 things for free, right? In fact, those 10 things you probably get bad in each one of those. So, hip motion, 5 critical checkpoints. I'm going to go through them fairly quickly, and then we'll get into some of the details and the feels. So I'm going to take my setup position. Now, I just put this little pool noodle behind me. This is shout out to Don Law Golf Academy, Osprey Point in Florida. He made this and was kind enough to give it to me. I'm just going to use this for you to see a visual of where my right thigh or my right hip starts at the setup position. So 5 checkpoints, okay? Number 1, if we use this, or you draw a line up the right hip when I start with, your right hip, well, let's backtrack, Eric. Let's slow down here and go one thing at a time. The setup matters, okay? Where we want the hips to start in the setup position is I want the center of your hips, if you drew a line right down the center of your pelvis, to be right in the middle of your feet. If it's not right in the middle, I would prefer it to be about an inch forward towards the target. That preset a little more pressure on your lead side. I'd rather that with the irons, more center with the driver, but I like it right in the middle. Part 1. Part 2, during the backswing, if I look at my trail thigh and this line up my right leg, from setup until about hip high or halfway back, I want my leg to stay on that. I don't want my hip to go inside too early, too much hip turn too early. I don't want it to bump into it. That's too much sway. I want it to stay on the line, all golfers, until my hands get about hip high. That's checkpoint 2. Checkpoint 3 from there, I want the hip and this to now come off of that up to the top. And that's happening as my hips are turning and my center of my pelvis is starting to work a little towards the target. It's actually the beginning part of my weight shift is during that second half of the backswing. Hips in the center to start, checkpoint 1. Hips stay on the line until about hip high, 2. Hips turn off of it, 3. Now here's the next critical part. From here, you need to get the middle of your hips, check this out, the middle of your hips to the inside of your left ankle, and I'll put a visual on the screen, to the inside of your left ankle by impact. That's checkpoint 4. So my hips have gone from turning away from the target, they're turning away from the target, but starting to move towards the target. Okay, let me say that again. During the second half of the backswing, they're turning away from the target, but moving slightly towards the target. Mary will probably put that up on text on the screen so you guys can see that. That's a big emphasis. Now, from there, I said the center of my hips need to get over the inside part of the ankle by impact. Now they're turning towards the target as they continue moving forward. I get through my impact phase, and then during the follow through, I get checkpoint 5, which is my hips right over the middle of my ankle or my leg. So if I want to have all those things for free, I want to have those checkpoints. And you can really practice this with as simple as an object here and video. So hips in the center, stay on it, come off of it, inside of the ankle, over the ankle. So depending upon where your issues lie, let's talk during the backswing first. How I would start this is get your hips in the center to start. You can check that with video. Put an object here on your right thigh or your right hip. Stay on it till halfway back. Just a little bit of a press into your trail side. And then slowly let that right hip work towards the target. Let's focus on that first because that sets up so much of the downswing. So I'm going to set up with my hips in the center, stay on it, and then turn that trail hip inside of it. And like a lot of other pieces, the more you get correct earlier, the less you have to do later. There's another quote that should go on there. The more you get correct earlier, the less you have to do later. So getting the hips in the center, staying on it early, and then coming off of it. Because there's a lot of different variations of that I see. So stay on it early, come off later. There's a lot of different variations that I see, and you want to record yourself if this is your issue and check and confirm from face on that you're doing it correctly. I probably see the biggest fault is the hips probably too far back to start, and then I see too much motion away from the target. So the common higher handicap amateur problem would be you would run into this too much. So you would want to focus really on making sure you get inside of it late. Your right hip should be feeling like it's working up and behind you, and your right shoulder really, but your right hip for sure. So start on it, stay on it, but then feel that right hip and right shoulder working around you as you're actually starting to fall towards the target. And that would be the start of the downswing. Now, the more you feel the right hip and right shoulder work around you from here, so the more you feel that work around you as you're starting to fall into your left foot, so from here, keep it turning away from the target, but start falling towards your left foot, the easier that's going to be to get your arms, hands, club working from inside during the downswing. Remember, you're turning away from the target as you're falling towards it. It's a subtle little movement. Right hip and right shoulder towards the target, second half of the backswing. And that's going to really set you up like those nice little draws there to swing from the inside. Now, if you've got that part down, but you struggle a little bit with the downswing, you can utilize this same noodle here and focus on that center of that belt line, getting to the inside of that left ankle by impact. That's our checkpoint. So my hips have turned, depending upon the player, maybe 20 to 45 degrees. My hips are turning and my belt line's moving forward. By me just thinking, get the center of my hips to the inside of the ankle, I get the weight shift, I get these other pieces for free. So if you're struggling with the downswing shift, get your hips away from the noodle and get that belt line over the inside of the ankle. your belt line should be pointing several feet in front of the ball at that point. So it's not over the ankle pointed at the ball, it's over the ankle pointed 2 to 3 feet in front of the ball. So belt line to my left ankle, belt buckle pointed 2 to 3 feet in front of the ball. That would be the down, and that's as good as I can hit it. That would be the downswing feel if you struggle with that part. Belt to the inside of the ankle, belt buckle points several feet in front of the ball. We'll do that one more time. Belt to the ankle, belt buckle points in front of the ball. And those feels should really help your hip motion. You get the weight shift for free, you should get some good swing direction from there, club face control, etc. And then really just the last part is making sure when you get done, you get your hips all the way over your ankle. Your hips are pushed forward, your belt line's closer to the target than your chest, your hips are fully turned, all the follow-through pieces we look for. But I would say, you know, the simple feels from here, assuming you're in the middle, stay on it so it's come off of it, and then get that hip on the inside of the ankle and point it forward. So those would be like the two feels. Right hip and shoulder towards it, and then hip over my ankle, but pointed forward. So I'm just imagining like the line that my hips are drawing there. Back towards the target, over my ankle and forward. And you combine those pieces together, like I mentioned, you're gonna get a lot of really good. But again, the flip side, get any of those pieces wrong. Start with the hips too far back, have too much sway to the right, not have them move forward enough, and you lose a lot of that free stuff. So this is the hip motion. This is what I think the engine of the golf swing is. I would record yourself from face on when you're practicing this. Put a noodle, chair, or bag on your trail hip. Send Don Law an email to get one of these, or just put something in there. Don't actually send him an email. And have that there when you're practicing. And then check out CogornoGolf.com or find a good coach to work with that you can pinpoint these things, because there could be so many flaws in your swing that you're seeing on video that are rooted in the hip motion, but you don't even see it, right? You don't know what you don't know until you know what you don't know. I'm gonna leave you with that. Hopefully you guys enjoyed this video. Leave a comment down below with any questions. We'll put a card on the screen for Cogorno Golf and a card for a similar style video. Thank you guys for watching.